Welcome everybody to Funeral Nation episode 155. I'm Ryan Thogmartin. That guy is Jeff, the funeral commander Harbison. And Jeff, we're coming from back in our offices now. You're in Arizona, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. In fact, Dan Nassard and I were down at the Independent Funeral Directors of Florida, which I'll mention in just a few minutes what we chatted about, which is pretty important subjects. But it was pretty there in Clearwater Beach. Came back home to where it's hot. We're at 108 degrees here in Phoenix today.
That's it?
It's summertime in the desert.
Can you crack an egg and make scrambled eggs on the hood of your car?
Yes. In fact, I could probably do that at lunchtime just outside the door here.
Wow. Paradise.
Hey, it is paradise. I'll take it rather than freezing my tail off up north. So I can deal with this for a few months. We have swimming pools and air conditioning. So it's all. Hey, Ryan, this thing doesn't work. This Funeral Nation doesn't work without the fuel. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Fuel, C&J Financial, Jamie, Rob, Jackie, that crew, phenomenal. You know, it's amazing all the places that we travel that we run into Jamie or Rob or Jackie or all three. And the amazing customers that they have that give them nothing but praise. You got to get paid, period. That's the name of the game. Got to make that money. And we've got a new video from Jamie and his crew, so let's check that out.
If all insurance assignment companies say they pay fast and are easy to work with, why do twice as many funeral homes choose C&J Financial? Over the past 2 decades, C&J and its affiliates have served in excess of 633,000 families and funded more than $3.6 billion in assignments to funeral homes and cemeteries throughout North America. If you're tired of the hassle, headache, and cash flow delay in processing insurance death claims, C&J's Fast Funding program can help. Let us show you why thousands of funeral homes across America choose C&J for their assignment funding needs, and why many associations, accounting firms, and industry leaders recommend C&J to their client and members. In every business, there's one gold standard. In insurance assignment funding, it's C&J.
Yeah, you know what? This is part of what I do here at the Foresight Companies. The funeral isn't over till you get paid. And by the way, you need to be paid. Just saying. So Ryan, a little bit of big news this week. We had Astral was purchased by Wilbert. What are your thoughts about that? You have some Wilbert background.
I do. I think it's interesting. Wilbert's really diversified in the last 5-6 years. They own a granite company. They own a casket company now. They are into a number of different things other than just burial vaults, which it's good in a way that they've recognized that, you know, you're selling less and less burial vaults. How can they get a piece of some of the other things that are happening in the game? Buying Pierce Chemical gives them the mortuary schools and, you know, the fluid company and some of those. So it's really neat how these companies are diversifying because we're in a different market. And they already had a casket company that they were importing caskets from China themselves. This gives them a larger distribution network. It gives them their own manufacturing. So I think it's neat. Look, Astral has been a client of ours for the last 4 years. It's been exciting to work with Charlie and his crew there. This is kind of the passing of the torch, and there's a great opportunity for Astral to have a nice exit and leave a legacy that could continue on. So we'll see. You know, the casket game is cutthroat right now. The competition is high. Tariffs are hurting. It's more money to import and export and all these different things. So there's a lot of factors that really are hammering down on the casket part of our business that are making it a little bit difficult, right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you don't have not only the Chinese tariffs, but it looks like we could have one for Mexico as well, which we know there's lots of plants down there from American companies importing. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I would say dismal, frankly, because there is one of the big companies that has a price increase way before the normal time. So they're trying to make up some dollars. So it's a cutthroat competitive issue. And I think we're at overcapacity. And, you know, something you and I discussed along the way was companies coming together, consolidation, that's the only way you're going to make it. We're seeing big family firms sell out for consolidation, for management. And so this is going to be a prime time, I think, in our next probably 3 to 4 years of consolidation of companies and funeral homes, frankly, getting together in order to make it long term.
That's right. Well, it's interesting to see a vault company by nature purchase a casket company. You know, we saw a casket company years ago try to jump in the vault game and manufacture their own caskets that did not work, or their own vaults that didn't work at all. So it will be interesting to see how, you know, it happens the other way around, a vault company purchasing a casket company, which is a little bit different than them trying to create their own brand. But
I hear
time will tell.
You know, it's interesting from the funeral home management ownership side. That's not an issue. Actually, this is like having a low housing market where everything would bust and you have your choice of what you want.
Yeah.
There's a lot bigger issues going on out here. Dan Nassard and I were last week, as I mentioned earlier, down in Clearwater Beach with the Independent Funeral Directors of Florida. Let me give you just a couple highlights of what we talked about. The number one issue in our business is not cremation. The number one challenge to us is staffing. And staffing is because, and we discussed this some down in Wilmington, is we have more people going out than coming in. The ones that are coming in aren't staying long term.
Right.
And so because of the different licensures in different states, I think we're really hurting ourselves because it's getting more and more difficult to hire that really talented person that wants to stay long term. Another great big issue is the pricing. I mean, it's gotten to a point where, hey, look, if the low-cost folks were winning, every one of you guys would be out of business out there, and you're not, right? We would all be driving Kias, I guess, the little teeny ones, or I would say Yugo, but that would probably date me just a little bit.
The smart cars that are golf carts just wrapped in sheet metal.
That's it, you know? And so, you know, bottom line, if you don't think you have a pricing problem, if your non-declinable charge for service fee is more than your immediate cremation, you have a problem, okay? And don't say it's because my competitor is less, etc. Your prices have nothing to do with your competitor's overheads. It's yours. You know, another issue which is near and dear to my heart is training. There's a significant difference between training and education. We have plenty of education. We have very little training. And, you know, I spoke about this last week that imagine if our CEUs actually had go, no-go, pass-fails. Would that change what we have? Maybe there was a number of training hours you're supposed to put in during a given year, given month. But, you know, forget being mandated. Do you want to make your staff better? Okay? Professional baseball players take practice before a game. When do you practice at funerals? And you can say, well, gosh, you know, we've been doing this for years with so pros. Okay? And bottom line is you can take 15 minutes. Heck, train on backing a hearse correctly. Find one of the biggest problems you have at your funeral home and take time, take out, train. Technology is a big deal. You know, this is something interesting. I had a debate with a guy last week about the impersonal typing on a computer. And it's just like, that's a feeling, that's not a fact, right? Because bottom line is, if I'm looking down to write, I can't look you in the eye when I'm typing. But just technology that's available. You know, interesting, speaking of technology, we do have somebody that's really good in technology, don't we? This is a sponsor.
We sure do. Kraken.
Yeah, and you know, it's such a simple tool to keep a team focused on details. You can manage from afar. You can do this right off of your phone. I find it interesting that you can sort, get information right when you need it, minimize errors, redundancies, and efficiencies. I mean, think about having everything done for a death certificate before the family comes into the funeral home. That way you can spend time on the life lived. And so communication, collaboration, you just can't do it without technology. In fact, let's take a break, talk about Kraken. If you don't have it, you're wrong.
Saving time is saving money. Kraken's productivity tools optimize time and money while making it easy to work with families. For example, Kraken allows you to present your GPL, Casket price list, OBC price list, and earn price list within the application. It also integrates with your accounting tools, regardless if you own one funeral home or many, or if you use one GPL or multiple GPLs. Kraken will also finalize your statement of funeral goods and services. What's more, Kraken simplifies your family's payments to you through an integrated payment system. And Kraken's exclusive payment processing system will lower your credit card processing fees too. In addition, Kraken gets rid of the awkwardness that can come with running back and forth from the credit card machine and arrangement office. With Kraken, you'll see time savings, but you'll also present your business as a modern business that uses modern business tools. Last, you can also review, monitor, and update information while on the run. See who's paid and who hasn't. Find out the status of any contract, anywhere, anytime, on any device. Tips like these can free up your time so you can spend more time with your families. Learn more about Kraken at kraken.net.
Let's get cracking.
All right, so Ryan, finally, one of the issues that we're seeing out here are facilities. We're finding that we're overbuilt. Yep. We're not having 2-day visitations. We're not sometimes having any visitation whatsoever. So converting that large, what was funeral home, into more an event center, having different opportunities. You know what, Mark Krause, our friend up there in Wisconsin, he's a genius when it comes to it. He built something inside his funeral home is phenomenal. I've been to hotels that aren't that nice, but the revenue he's getting from that is making up from the shortfalls.
That's right.
So today, if you're not making sense moving forward and not making good use, what worked even 5 years ago is not working today. Do you agree?
I agree, and I think there's some states that need to allow this to happen. There's some funeral homes that can't add services like food or catering because of state laws, which are just ridiculous.
But you partner with somebody outside.
That's right. You can partner with a catering company. You can partner with the wedding planner in town, and get together with them or the videographer and do these things. So it's diversification. We're seeing it on the vendor side. We just talked about it. It needs to happen at the funeral home level because you got to be what the consumer needs, because if you're not, they're going to go somewhere else and get it. And it's kind of like, a funeral home that says, we don't make our money off of cremation, we only make our money off of burials. Well, if someone's paying for it, it might as well be paying you, not somebody else.
Right. And, frankly, if someone really looked into it, the burial families are subsidizing cremation families.
That's right. And
that would be a great article to get out, but we'll just keep that here within our funeral nation. We don't want to talk about that. And there's all sorts of ideas. You had a great post with Amy Cunningham up in New York. She's doing a great job. And, what's interesting about that, you don't have to be a specific funeral home to serve that family. Yeah. This is just an addition. Home funerals is what we started with. In fact, grandfathers years ago, that's what they did. Natural burials. They've been around since beginning of time?
That's right.
I applaud her and for her and her focus on what she's doing up there. But, also that doesn't necessarily mean because you grow a large audience that something works. You can be too far out on the peripheral. Do you agree?
I totally agree. How do I want to word this? You can be one thing online, and just because you can be far out and build a audience around it does not mean that that's going to equate to new business by being completely far-fetched, shock and awe, and then, hey, this will work in a funeral home. It's got to map to what the consumer wants, and we're seeing that. At the end of the day, our personal preferences, yours, mine, the funeral directors, the vendors, our personal preference has absolutely zero bearing on how that funeral is going to take place. It's 100% dependent on the consumer. And if the consumer wants something, we need to provide it. We don't need to try to tell the consumer what they want.
And you make it up and it happens. I mean, we saw the closure shut down last week that, hey, that sounds great, but in reality, it doesn't work. The business is still a business.
That's right.
Speaking of business, wait a minute, ring, ring? How do you get business in there is you have to have ring, ring that comes in. Hey, I have to tell you, Welton Hong is one of the brightest guys in our business and certainly one of the class gentlemen. If you're not using ring, ring to help broaden your market, then you're wrong. That's 2 wrongs we've had today, right?
Two wrongs. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
That's it. So let's talk about Welton and his business a little bit.
We're Ring Ring Marketing. We help funeral homes generate at least 10 more at-need calls per month. Our techniques help you dominate local search rankings and become the top choice for services in your area. We also proudly offer a 100% money-back guarantee. For a free copy of our book, visit www.funeralhomeprofits.com.
All right, Commander. Well, that wraps up episode 155. We'll convene next week for 156, just like normal.
We've got Father's Day coming up, so all the fathers out there, congratulations. Well done. So, Ryan, until next time, we'll shut this thing down.
All right. Have a great effing week.
Out here.